Welcome into Real Bourne and McKee today. We are missing our boy, Nick Kyprios. He is attending the service, the celebration of life for Greg Millen today. So we're going to give him a pass for that one. That's a pretty important move for him. So wishing everyone there the best. Also today with Sam McKee and myself, we've got Luke Fox in the house. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Small two-person applause for you there. Yeah, no, this is really cool. We're really happy to have you in. We thought this would be a great opportunity to preview the playoffs a little bit, take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. We are now 3 days away from Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, Toronto Maple Leafs edition again.
How often do you come in here, Luke? You're like you're the road dog. You're always on the road.
I don't even do my reviews in here. Usually I say, like, let's go meet at lunch or something. My pass card hasn't worked for a long time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking, like, your bosses must be in this building here, but you are traveling constantly. So are you on every road trip?
Not everyone.
Okay.
But so if there's 82 games, I probably go to 74.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Damn.
I got out of that Carolina game.
Oh, you did?
Oh, good.
Yeah. And now it's full on.
Yeah.
It's full on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Well, so you've got a lot of experience and can fill us in on all the great details. Because tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs are host to the Detroit Red Wings, whose season is over. The Leafs' entire goal is not to get hurt. I mean,
I have two pitches for tonight.
okay.
I have two pitches, and I gave one in line to Luke at Tim Hortons before we came down here. My first pitch is forfeit. Like, is there a forfeit clause in the NHL? Like, can you be like, hey, we're paying $1 million to the league and no game?
You'd have to refund every ticket purchase.
Yes, correct.
And then you'd have to pay the home, which is you.
Yep.
So whatever. You just say, we're just going to forfeit that $2 million revenue.
Yeah, but Sammy, what about that 8-year-old and it's his birthday and he's going to his first game?
Well, you know what, Dad? Shouldn't have bought last game of the season tickets.
You know, it's a high-risk ticket to buy. It could be the most electric ticket of the season.
Or the worst. And it's about to be the worst. My second pitch is the clinch clause, which I gave to you guys in the lunchroom before we got on here.
Yeah.
Last week of the season, because I agree that if you start getting a little bit of chicanery before the last week of the season, then you become the NBA, which I don't want to do.
Okay.
But the last week of the season, there is so many games that are so meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
And you look around the league, and there's a lot of teams that are able to rest because of their cap picture and the way that they've done it. And like, look last night for Montreal, half the best players in the Carolina Hurricanes did not attend that game.
Right. It was 46% of their scoring did not play.
Yeah. So I don't understand why the league couldn't put in a clause the last week of the season for teams that are having cap issues, quote unquote, or teams that are spending to the cap or the way they're doing it. Just, you're allowed to rest some guys. Like, why are you not allowed to rest anybody? Like, you're like, you're spending too much money on these great forwards. You got to send them out there in a meaningless game and hopefully no one gets hurt. It's weird and stupid to me.
But the league doesn't want to encourage, presumably, good players not playing in their games. But to your point, you then guarantee you get them in the postseason.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Clinch clause?
The integrity of the league, though.
Yeah.
What if the Red Wings were fighting for something? What if someone's going for a record or a milestone? Like, then you got to, like, adapt the clinch clause on the fly?
Well, but what about...
You're only thinking of the Leafs here because there could be other teams playing for things.
I mean, last night, does that not infect... what does Columbus think?
But they've earned the right to rest it with their cap management.
Yeah. But
your team wanted to pay
but
all these guys all this
God
money.
Forbid they have great players that they would love to rest. Tonight is horrifying.
Well,
tonight
good
is
news
horrifying.
for you. We get to hear from their head
Hold
coach.
on. I got to put the clips in. I'm doing a lot today.
Oh, yeah.
I'm producing.
Sam's playing multiple roles tonight.
I'm sitting in the big chair.
So you were down at morning skate today?
I was down at morning skate, and they're doing the exact same lineup that clinched in Buffalo.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're no Camp, no McCabe.
No Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Correct. They were all participating in the optional morning skate, so they're on the ice, which is a good sign.
That's great.
Which is a good sign. But, yeah, same lineup except Joseph Wall, and they're saving big Anthony Stollers for game one.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So Do you anticipate that they'll have all hands on deck come Sunday?
I do. When the coach comes out and says, I'm pretty confident they're playing. If you're a player and you hear that, you better
that
play.
That means you're playing.
you may be playing through something, but you're playing.
Yeah.
I hated. I mean, when was it 2 days ago or yesterday when he played the clip where he's like, "Wow, I don't know, he's pretty tough." All of Rick Miller's, he's pretty tough, so he's probably going to play.
Yeah.
If you don't play, you look like a wuss.
Yeah.
You look like you're not tough at all.
It is a message to them, but also like when I heard those clips, the more I thought about it, the more it's like there is some head games that goes on with some of this stuff, right? Like, can you just not let the other team know who's going to be available?
Yeah, but to counter that though, if they were feeling pretty good, you'd play them and you would rest Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, who finally has his 100 points, and maybe Chris Tanev, who's going to block 5 million shots over the next 2 weeks or 2 months, hopefully, if you're a Leaf fan.
Yeah. So those guys are in it.
The clips are in, by the way, now.
Okay, cool.
I rock and roll here.
One last thing for milestones. Would be cool if Tavares scored twice tonight.
For sure.
Get to 40.
Definitely. I'd rather him play 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like, if Pontus Holmberg doesn't play 32 minutes tonight, I don't know what the coach is doing. I want Dakota Mermis looking like Cale Makar up there tonight.
All right.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Let's start with clip 1 on trying to stay healthy tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's no science to it. You go play. We'll manage minutes and manage things best we can, Just go play. Play smart, play hard, do the things you normally do. That's really what it boils down to.
Did you see last night the Winnipeg Jets and Mesnikov is like in a shooting lane. The D-man drags it around him and shoots it, and he kicks out his foot to block the shot, ends up going down the tunnel to the room. He's okay.
Yeah.
But you're never just fine. Like, it hurts. It's going to bother him in his skate, whatever. But it's like, it's really hard to turn that off when you've been playing competitively your whole life.
Jason Robertson got hurt.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and
how
hurt, right?
Yeah, and how important is he?
Yeah.
And that was meaningless for Dallas. So yeah,
it's scary.
Sam's going to be watching through his fingers.
Well, the National
This is
League,
the least fun game to watch all year by a mile.
The Sharks 10:30. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, I had to work that.
But the National League instincts, like you said, where you can tell a guy, "Hey, take it easy tonight." I saw somebody tweet like, "Hey, give the beer league effort tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, you're playing in the wrong beer league. We want the opposite of beer league effort tonight. We want you want the All-Star game energy tonight."
You guys laying it out in your team?
Listen, I mean,
the Zags?
Well, I've seen some guys do some things that are unspeakable in beer league. Don't get me wrong, but I just mean it's hard to turn off, like you said, turn off the intensity, turn it off, and then when you're thinking "Oh, I shouldn't do this here," is when you kind of get out of character. Like you must, if you played in a game where you're not. Not trying.
Yeah, I played on a team that never won any games in college. The last game of every year was "Don't get hurt before golf season" game.
Yeah, and then did people get hurt?
Yes,
is
the answer.
Because you're thinking I don't want to do this, and then
you're
kind of
halfway committed to things.
Anyways, just a little bit spooky.
I do think it helps that the Red Wings have absolutely nothing to
They're
play.
also
This is going to have a preseason electricity to it.
Yeah, I wonder if they called anyone up or they're probably the same team.
Well, the last game of the season, they let their guys play. I mean, they're not going to play again for.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're out.
Yeah,
so they're not going to play.
Might as well play those guys. Yeah. All right. So we're getting close to knowing the lines for the playoffs here, where I would assume you're going to put them together as you intend them to be on Sunday night. Why would you not? So, Domi with Tavares and Willie. Where are you on that? How does that feel for you?
I am firmly on the fence.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I think they can create at times, but even in that Buffalo game, there's one line of the Leafs that got outshot by the lowly Sabres, and it was that line.
Yeah.
It scares me a little bit defensively, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they start with Sunday, but it would surprise me if they go through a best of 7 and that stays intact.
For sure.
I foresee a Bobby McMahon promotion at some point.
Yeah, it's like you always push the button to make the top 2 lines the best you can, and that clearly is the answer. The underlying numbers when Pontus Holmberg plays on that line.
Oh boy, here we go.
Pretty good. Pretty
Coach
good.
likes him.
They control. I was thinking, here's a random thought I was thinking driving in here today. There's a couple guys that Berube has got wrong. I think we have all been following this core 4 team for the whole way along. And one thing we all knew after last year, Bobby McMahon was a player.
Yeah.
He was healthy scratch for game one. Berube didn't like his camp, wasn't as enamored with him. That, to me, he had him wrong. We got him right. He ends up scoring 20 goals and using him. David Kampf, I think he has wrong. David Kampf, he has them in the same rotation as, Holmberg and Yarncroc. He scratches them. He doesn't love David Kampf. We've seen David Kampf here be a very valuable player.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the other one that I think maybe either I have wrong or he has wrong, he loves Holmberg.
He does.
And I don't know, where are you? Is this a valuable player, Holmberg? Is this someone that Berube has found that maybe I just can't see it the way he sees it?
I think he has had a nice finish to the season, which will earn him a start. But I would have him in that mix of you better keep that up or you could be taking a seat.
Because there's no obvious out of the lineup forwards. You got 14 of them with Pacioretty healthy.
For sure. And I think Calle Yarncroc, I haven't been overly impressed by him. And, there's a good reason for that. He missed 3/4 of the season. He's jumping on a speeding train. I think he would tell you this if he was sitting here, that he doesn't feel like he's quite found it yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that is in the mix and may fall out of favor.
I don't really know why they're trying to make the Domi Willie JT thing.
But it's the Domi thing.
Well, no,
they don't know where to put him. He doesn't fit.
For sure.
Not that he's not good. That, again, I'm not saying he can't play. It's that he doesn't fit, obviously, anywhere on this roster. And that's last year they entered playoffs with him in the top six too. He played by Matthews.
But what are you philosophically trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because the second you put Bobby McMahon on that line, like Luke mentioned,
it's in the
really
forecheck,
good.
wins pucks.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And they had a long stretch this year where we had people commenting at Leafs Talk and tweeting in and being like, that's the Leafs' number one line. Like, it's their best line. Like, that works.
Yeah.
So you're trying to go into the playoffs to the most important time of the year where you're trying to steal a line here, where you're trying to, put Domi up there so you can make the bottom six better. Philosophically, if I'm a coach, I know that I have two excellent hockey lines that are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Press. It's hit me. I'm going back to that and then
keep searching for a mix in the bottom
for sure.
six.
Bobby McMahon on that second line has been really good. We've talked about it before with him. When he goes down to the bottom half of the lineup, gets a little bit lost.
Yeah.
He's not quite the same player when he's not playing with good
He's
players.
Just so streaky.
He's streaky. When he plays with Willie finds him a lot. Tavares, it's a good mix. So for me, if I'm going to the playoffs, I just want to go back to McMahon, Willie, and JT because I know it's really good. And Nye's, you have two borderline elite lines.
Yeah.
Why not press? You don't have to mix it all throughout the lineup to me.
Well, let's find out what Craig Berube has to say. Clip 2 on Domi, Willie, JT. Dos.
Two.
Por favor.
Yeah. There's things I like and there's things that I don't particularly like all the time. For me, it's about them managing the puck more than anything. I think, they got to understand that, hope plays aren't good plays. We need good hockey plays, and if they can get that mindset, that could be a dangerous line. I mean, I think you have a little bit of everything on that line. But, they did a lot of good things. There's things that they probably can do better, too.
Wants puck management.
He doesn't love it.
No, I don't think that's going to hold. Anytime the coach is like, I work on the puck management, and you think about it, all three of them are guys who are pretty risky.
Yeah.
How worried are you guys that we're about to go into game 82 here? There's probably not much to learn in game 82.
No.
And they're still figuring out this middle six.
Yeah, it's
moderately concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look around the league, I don't follow teams day to day like I do with the Leafs. I mean, I watch games, but I don't watch their morning skates. I'm not on top of what lines are. But how many teams around the league are searching for something at this point of the season? Like the Leafs have won the Atlantic, and they haven't had set lines basically for the last month. They've been trying different things. We've wanted them to try different things, but at this point, you'd hope whatever they've tried, they've settled on something and they've figured it out. They're not trying to insert Domi into the top six here to try to change the lineup.
If you know you're going to be in playoffs, the purpose of the 82 games is to come up with as many viable options as possible. And the only two we're sure about, they're not going with the McMahon second line one. That's one of the two we're sure about. So, maybe they found something on the fourth line. They seem to like Lawton, Lorentz, and Yarncroc.
But that's kind of the third line, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. When they do the morning skate thing, they'll list it as the fourth line,
Yeah.
but then it's kind of the third line. I think they played 15 against Carolina. I think
Yeah,
they played
they
similar.
play a lot more.
They play more than the fourth line.
So I want to turn the page and go to these questions before if we want to go
hold
back
on.
and do the okay.
I think there's a very good conversation to have about the core stuff
Okay.
because I don't know who it was that asked the question. Luke was down there today, but clip 3, Derek, if you could play it, it has the question in it with the answer.
A lot of the core guys in this room have experienced some playoff disappointment the last 7-8 years. What do you have to do to make sure that isn't something
That's in the
creeps
past.
through these playoffs?
I don't talk to him about it. It's in the past. I'm focused on tonight's game and then going forward.
We're on to Cincinnati.
So I do think that this is pretty good. I do like the way that he said that, that you can talk about how these guys have all these scars, and boy, we could talk about that we could do a 2-hour show on just that. But having a different coach, I was skeptical if it was going to actually make a difference. But they have been very different this year. The way they've played, the way they've looked, the way they've felt, it has looked and felt different. And when you're one of these core guys, when you look back and it's not Sheldon Keefe who you went through these heartbreaks with, where he's not, you know every beat of him, he knows every beat of you, there's a different relationship. I do think his consistent tone and everything he said, I do think it can make a difference. Like, I am full on feeling different, and it's horrifying.
And he's been very consistent. In that's in the past.
Yes.
Like, you ask about Joseph Woll at the beginning of the season. Well, I don't know what he was like before I got here, but he's looked good since I got here.
We used to make fun.
That's kind of been his MO.
I mean, he won't even weigh in on the Battle of Ontario. He was like, I didn't see it. I wasn't here. It's like, come on.
We used to make fun of it and be like, you have YouTube, like watch some videos,
But I think it's
fresh.
It's refreshing for the guys, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. It's like
anything.
that doesn't weigh into his evaluation. That probably does help. I was thinking that going into a series like this, because he's not dramatic. He doesn't, like Berube, I mean, he doesn't blow up any of the highs and lows and stuff. It's probably going into the series, he's saying, just keep playing. And it kind of shows a trust and a belief that if you do just keep playing, it'll be okay. I'm sure that instills some confidence. And the other thing I was thinking too is this Senators decor, which I know they're not playing the Senators tonight, is very different from the decors that has shut down the Leafs core for in the past. It's been Ekblad and Hedman and Carlo and long, rangy,
Carlo, he plays for the Leafs now,
that's
right?
nice.
Yes.
But it's been different types. And now it's like, okay, it's Shabbat. Sanderson obviously is the great skater, but those are different types of guys that are going to wear the bulk of the minutes. And I wonder if that won't mean a few more openings for Matthews and Marner than usual. Even if it is a trade of chances, because they probably will get burned here and there, I think you would take that, given how shut down they've been.
And the other thing is the Leafs are suddenly a forechecking team. Like, can they wear down a Shabbat and a Sanderson?
Get body on those guys.
Yeah. Well, like, Sanderson's never been through a best of 7.
Right.
I think he's the most talented defenseman in the series.
Yep.
But if you wear him down, what's he going to be like in Game 5, Game 6?
Yeah.
The 8th time Matthew Nyes trucks him.
Right.
And
I think about some of the third pair decors that they've seen in the past, whether it's been guys like, I don't know, Chernak or, whoever it's been for Boston. But this Clevin, Hamonic, Montempalo, there's going to be some openings for these guys. I think this is the year those guys get 10 points each in a round.
Okay.
That's anyway.
Sens are half decent defensively, though.
They are, and they got good goaltending too. Yeah. But there's going to be a few more cracks anyway.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it would be really nice to have the middle of the ice be open a little bit more here and there in a playoff series at least, because it just feels, except for the one against Tampa, where Vasilevsky just would not stop letting in soft goals for 6 games, and maybe the biggest reason they won. It'd be nice to just have a little bit more space for them. And is it unmovable force versus
immovable?
What is it? Unmovable force versus unstoppable, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It feels like
flipped, but anyway.
Whatever it is. The Leafs playoff experiences, which are many and bad, versus the inexperience of the Ottawa Senators, where sure they have nothing to lose. This is new for them, but
which felt those moments?
Which side of this is it's gonna be a really fascinating battle of two different styles.
Yeah,
so
I heard Nick Robertson have a quote today where he's like, we've got the playoff experience or whatever, and I was like, He kind of does. I know it's not all good, but he was there in Columbus. He played 6 games last year. I don't know what he has, but it's got to be.
Did he play when he was 14 against the Blue Jackets? Like, how old was he in that series? Feels like he's been around forever.
He's still the second youngest Leaf, and he feels like he's
crazy.
been on the
23 or something like that?
Yeah.
So we'll hope that the inexperience for the Senators in the playoffs comes in. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that are picking against the Leafs, which is so easy. Like, I just see every person that wants to troll.
I'm going to go ahead and just say it's a spite pick at that point, because I've gone through the data. I watched. There's no reason to think the Sens win the series outside of Leafs ghosts. And so if you want to say Leafs ghost is the reason I think they'll lose, I'm in.
Yeah.
You can have that one. But if you're like, the Senators forwards, the top 3 forwards in the series are on the Leafs. Brady Tkachuk, you can as you like.
I think it was one of the Sens Twitter account, one of their fan accounts, put out like an unbiased list, and it's like Matthews first, Brady Tkachuk second,
right?
For the forwards in the it's just a million. Like, I'm like, they got what they wanted. Good for them. I love it. Like, it's starting. I think we'll get into this, like, a lot of these questions, but for a lot of Leaf fans, you've been going up against the Bruins, which is a natural rival, but it's not a close rival. Where, like, you're going up where, like,
you could have emotional.
You could have a buddy who's a Sens fan. You could have, like, family who's from Ottawa who are Sens fan. Like, this is, like, way closer than it's been.
Buddy.
So we'll see, but I think this is going to be a much different feel amongst the fans than it has been in years past.
I actually had a friend text me, is Sammy ready for the Leafs to be agitated by Greg, Tkachuk, Perron, Pinto?
I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
Not
all
ready
right.
for that.
So we had, there's 7 games in the series.
Yes.
Sammy has created 7 Battle of Ontario question marks. We only have, 40 minutes left in the hour.
We'll do a couple before we hit the break.
Yeah.
We'll you want to start with the first one?
I'll start with the top and we'll throw it around the room. Question number 1, the most hated figure for Leafs fans. Who's going to be the most hated figure in the series for Leafs fans and the most hated figure for Sens fans? I think for Leafs fans, it's easy. Thank you very much. That's a great job. Is anyone here not going to pick Brady Tkachuk?
Well, I will pick Tkachuk, but I'll throw another one out there.
Yeah.
Nick Cousins, guys.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Like, and there was
sleep on that.
and there was a bit of a history there.
He tried to
take off
Quillen.
Take off his leg.
Yeah.
That
was a tough start to Quillen's career.
Yeah. Ridley Gregg, throw him in there too.
Yeah.
I think that this is.
I rewatched that, by the way. Sorry, the Riley on Greg the other day. Boy, he greased him pretty good.
Oh my God, he hammered him.
Yeah.
That's actually not a too inside baseball here, but that was Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
And JD and I didn't do Leafs Talk that night because I was away at a Super Bowl cottage. He was not doing it, and we were watching the game. And
the worst one to not do.
I looked at my phone was in the room. I went down to go to bed. I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, shouldn't have looked at that. Like, literally, where the hell's Leafs Talk? Oh my God, that was a horrible one to miss. But I think Ridley Gregg, for that, like, everyone knows Tkachuk is what he is.
Yeah.
But he's also really effective and like a good hockey player too.
Yeah.
But I do think that Ridley Gregg has a chance to be number 1. If I was going to do like the power rankings, I think
he's willing to be.
Oh yeah, I think
he'll be willing.
I think that's his whole. Like, I'm sure that Travis Green is having I don't know if I can say this on radio, a-holes only meeting.
Yeah, you're fine.
With Tkachuk, with Cousins, with.
I would love that. I would love if he was having a meeting with
Perron, with Greg, being like, these guys, they don't necessarily have the pushback that you guys do. Walk the line, try not to take penalties or whatever. But they're going to use that element.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be an element that they use.
When we get farther down, one of the questions is the answer for how the Sens could pull it off is that.
They're just like but I mean, then you start taking
into the mud and
start taking penalties. Yeah. It could go the other way, but I'm picking Ridley Gregg.
So then the other part of that is the most hated figure for Sens fans. And I love this question because it's actually tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll let you go first, Luke. Who do you think would be the most hated figure for Senators fans?
Well, my gut instinct was Domi, but I'm going to go with Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Great pick.
He is
interesting.
I have that too.
I've watched so many games this season where stuff happens behind the play. He gets into it with one member of the opposing team, and they have like a mini feud that lasts 60 minutes.
Yeah.
He's sneaky, edgy.
And he's never going to fight, so he's just going to keep driving you crazy.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of action around the net front, and he's going to be pushing guys away from Stollers and Wall eventually, probably.
Yeah.
He's going to get into it with some of the Sens forwards, and their MO is going to be to make life difficult on really good Leafs goaltending. So
for sure,
I'm going to go with OEL.
OEL is on my list too. I also have Nyes, because Nyes, seeing him jaw churn act the other day, I feel like he's confidence-wise come into his own as a run-your-mouth guy.
I think my pick would be Jake McCabe. Because I think Jake McCabe or potentially Scott Laughton.
Oh, Lawton's a good
pick.
pick.
Those are because I think Scott Laughton has a lot more to give on the greasy side of things. I think he's really, over the last, 3 weeks, he's really started to, maybe not 3 weeks, 2 weeks, started to find his role in the team.
Him more lately.
Improving. And we were sort of promised a bit of grease. We haven't seen it since his stage fight. Was it Greg? He fought Greg, right? Yeah. I do think that there's a chance for him to get a little greasy and do something. But my number one pick would be McCabe because I think he's going to hammer something.
And Scott Laughton, when he signed here, one of the first things he said is like, I can't wait to get back to the playoffs.
Yes.
Last time he played the playoffs, I believe the Flyers were in the bubble, no fans. And now he's hometown, little bit of pressure to
Ontario,
make a name for yourself. Clean slate too on the score sheet. So no one's going to be bringing up that has no goals. I think he just misses playoff hockey. I think it's a sneaky good pick.
It's funny that none of us did pick Domi, but
Domi's probably a pretty good pick.
But I do feel like Domi just will have a flare up and he'll fight, and it doesn't feel like a constant 7-game series. Won't
it could be.
Yeah, it could be.
But you mentioned Scott Laughton there. In 1920, when he played, not 2019, 2020, in that playoff run, which I guess was the bubble, as you reminded me.
Yeah.
He played 15 games. He had 9 points, scored 5 goals, and had 4 assists. So his last action in the playoffs, he was pretty good. So
that's ahead of the Matthews-Marner pace, I think, in postseason. So.
No question. No question.
All right, which brings us to our obvious next question. Mm-hmm. Biggest storyline.
Like how I went to hate first before I went to this.
That was well done. Biggest storyline in the series is...
I think there's an argument for the coaching aspect for the Leafs and how different it looks for the Leafs and just like what it's going to look like between Sheldon Keefe and him. But it's odd. But the number one thing is just Leafs playoff ghosts.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
But the only real way, Sens are good. They're a great team. They made the playoffs, but they have significantly less points than the Leafs this year. They are not as good as the Leafs. But the only way it really comes up is the ghosts, and the ghosts, unfortunately, are the biggest storyline.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
What do you got?
Yeah, I have something similar for sure. Because, so the Leafs beat the Senators in this series. You say, wow, Ottawa made the playoffs. Yeah. What a step forward. They got a taste. That's something to build on. End of story.
Yeah.
But Leafs lose.
Yeah.
It's, they can't get it done. Who's getting fired? Who's walking out the door for nothing?
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Well, the timing.
It's a thing.
So mine is, I have written Leafs pressure, and it's because all of the previous failures, they say the whole thing about was it cracking a rock? It's not the 100th blow, it's the 99 before that kind of do the damage.
Yeah.
You know? Right now, I see a thing of TNT. It's got TNT on the box with the handle, and your bitter rival, the other team in Ontario, has the handle and has the chance to nuke the whole thing.
Yes.
The very people you don't want to be holding it have it within their power to say, buy Marner, buy Tavares, who knows
buy
what else.
Shanny, potentially.
Who
It's
knows,
a lot.
and it's that could change fundamentally everything about what has been this team that has been regular season dominant for almost a decade.
Remember the playoff battle of Alberta when it came out that the Oilers broke the Flames?
Yes.
Yes.
When you were saying that, that's what popped into mind.
You cannot
the Senators
have that.
could lay claim to, we are the ones that broke the Maple Leafs.
Finally.
Yeah.
What would you know about pressure?
I would say that I will forever have so much disdain towards this core if they ruin the Battle of Ontario for me. Because the Battle of Ontario is my fondest memories.
Well,
it's the number
had
one.
the success.
It's the number one thing that, like, you know, I've seen JD talking about it. We've talked about it with him. Like, just it's formed my real fanship. You know, I was a little young for other stuff,
I
but
feel like it's going to happen.
But if this core loses to the Sens and then Shanny's gone, Marner's gone, and it's like we ended the lease, blah, 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 like.
You'll never forget.
I'm going on a sabbatical. The Monday after the series is over, I get Disco Dan in here. I'm gone.
Just don't leave a jersey on the bus before you go on that sabbatical.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
What was that song you sent in our group chat? Are we allowed to talk
We'll talk about
that?
it later. Yeah, I've got a crazy bus song sent to me. I don't know. I still haven't really hammered out the details if that's AI or recorded, or I sent a DM to a guy about it. So we'll talk about it after. I'll play it for you guys or for you, Luke, in the break.
All right.
Somebody made a song about the jersey.
Which player will be the series X factor? Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I got Brady Tkachuk just because, you know, I think he's the heartbeat of that team. Apparently he's fully healthy and even playing tonight, I believe.
Oh, is
but,
he?
you know, he has battled multiple injuries since Four Nations. One of them suffered at Four Nations. So I think his health is an X factor. His play is an X factor. I mean, this guy's been champing at the bit to play playoff hockey. He's in the, you know, Saddle Dome with beers in his pockets. Then he's following around Matthew for both his cup runs. I actually interviewed him on the ice after Matthew won the cup.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's just dying to play playoff hockey.
Great.
Now, is that...
But he might make some Kadri-like mistakes
that's
them.
what I was going to say. So does he channel that into I'm scoring 5 goals this series, or does he channel it into a 2-game suspension?
Just absolutely behead someone off the opening draw with his stick.
Well, we've had multiple conversations about Brady Tkachuk on this show where we've watched the Sens play multiple times this year against the Leafs, other games where it's just, can you just play hockey, man?
Yeah.
Where you're really good at hockey.
Yeah.
And like you're above having to do this every shift. Like, it's a factor, I understand that. But the thing that scares me is when the games were really high stakes at the Four Nations, he was spectacular. He was really good at the Four Nations.
But I actually did think it took him a bit to get settled in.
Sure,
he was pretty fired up.
He scrapped in the first game. He dropped the gloves. Like, was he the first one that did it?
No,
Matthew was the
Matthew
first one.
was first, right?
Yeah, and then it was
Hagel.
Bennett and Brady that did it after. But in that gold medal game, him and Matthews were both out of this world good.
Yeah.
He scores a tying goal. He almost like scores
Bennington
our country-ending goal when he shoots it into the net almost
He
onto the
almost
goal.
became America.
Yeah, we almost became America. So how good he played in that is scary for me. Who's your X factor?
Austin Matthews.
Oh, okay. Well, we're guy. Mine's Mitch Marner.
No, well, this is the thing. I thought you guys would take the low-hanging fruit,
Yeah.
which is goalies.
No,
It's like,
no, not me.
whatever. To me, it's like, this guy, which guy is he?
Mhm.
We've seen both versions of a guy who is a Hart Trophy winner.
Crushed
and
it.
I don't know, what do you call it when he's not that? He's had some stretches where he's been not good. And frankly, I think he's been not great lately.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's saving it a little bit.
I kind of do too.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Really hope that's true.
Yep.
When he's gone, he's gone, right?
He, I believe he has 54 points since the calendar turned January 1st, which is 4th best in the NHL. So, like, it's not like he's not been playing well, but we've seen games where he pours it on, and it looks different. So, the other one would be Nyes, which is also a top-end guy, but can he be sort of net front garbage man? But we have gone on too long.
I'll quickly sneak mine in here before we go. Give me Riley. Riley's the
yeah?
X factor.
Good one.
Yeah, because, I mean, the only real hope for him all year is that it's the
Playoff Riley.
the switch flips and he
Bubble
goes,
Demko.
yeah, right. It's like, let's flip the switch here. Hopefully this is because that's all you've really been able to hang your hat on all year, because it clearly has been not a great year for him. He's been in the spotlight. He's been a whipping boy here. If he's good, if he like turns himself into what it's been like against Tampa, he was good against Boston. Like,
Point per game, plays 23 minutes.
if that happens, the Leafs decor is stacked.
Yeah.
It just is. Like, they have a legit shutdown top pair with, for the first time ever, with Tanev and McCabe. Carlo and Riley has been really good since Riley's gotten here. And then you just,
Noel Benoit.
and then So if Riley is playoff Riley, at least decor looks great.
Yeah.
So that's my X factor is Riley.
I think it's
If
a
you
great
can-
one.
if you can turn it around.
Like this.
There you go.
And totally redeem yourself.
And when we're back, we have 4 more questions to preview some of the Leaf Send series, and we will be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to Real Bourne and McKee and Fox today. We are a different crew, sans Kyper, and we're going to carry on doing our postseason preview a little bit. We're going to do more tomorrow with Kip. We'll go through all the series, and we'll break down Ottawa a little bit more too.
Reminds me, tomorrow we're going to do our first block like we usually would.
Good memory.
But it's a very important time. It's playoff leaf line time.
Playoff leaf line time. You heard him here first.
And do you guys do leaf line when I was gone?
No.
Really?
We did.
Did you?
We did a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a very important time. So the number is 416-413-4141. 416-413-4141. I think. Yeah, that's the number. So call it. Call it and leave a message. And if it's good, I'll play it. So there you go.
All right. We're going to carry on with our questions from Sammy, which I love this one here. What is the nightmare scenario for Leafs fans and the nightmare scenario for Sens fans? Should we just have yours? Why don't you go first and get us out of the way?
We kind of laid it out when we were talking about the Senators like ending the Leafs.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Tough to out nightmare that.
The TNT Rock thing was a very good sort of comparison, and I can't really go by that. I think there's another scenario where for the first time ever, Matthews and Marner are like really great, and then like Stollers and Waldes turn into pumpkins. Right? Like it's like that. I think where they're like for the first time ever, the core 4 guys are really great together, and it goes 7 games, and they score a bunch of goals. They have 10 points each, like you laid out, and then Wall can't or Stollers lets in a couple weak ones. They go down early. Like there's just those two to me would be the big ones. But outside of the Sens ending the Leafs as we know it, there's not many bigger nightmares than that.
Anything else to add on that?
Oh, Mike, turn your mic on.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. We got you. You're back. Yeah.
I would say the reverse sweep would be the worst.
Oh.
If they go up, they go up 3-0, and that would be the worst way to go out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like blowing a 3-1 series lead like the Montreal Canadiens, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
that
happened.
It's harder to construct the opposite. What is the nightmare scenario for the Senators?
Okay, and this occurred to me earlier this week in Buffalo, where it turned into a party at KeyBank Center for the Maple Leafs. All the Sabres fans, what few of them there were, filed out early, and Matthews gets his milestone, and Marner gets his milestone. The Leafs clinch, and Stollers gets a shutout.
In your barn, everyone's having a great time.
In your barn. Mm-hmm. And all these Leaf fans are hanging around after. What if they turn the Canadian Tire Center into that in game 4 or 6? I guess it would be. And the Sens fans just get out-cheered, and it turns into a big Leaf fan party.
Yeah.
In Canada.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better one.
It's funny that that's off ice, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not even talking about an on-ice scenario. That's
I just mean the scene. Like, it's like you finally make the playoffs, and the opposing team, your bitter rival, just throws a party in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I had written was that, there is the ways that this can go right for Ottawa is that shut down the core, and the goaltending in Toronto's not perfect, and, they go 6 or 7, they squeak by, they, blow up the team, whatever. There's a chance, because the Leafs are, I think most people would agree, better team, has more talent. There's a chance the Leafs just beat them outright.
Yeah.
Like they beat them in 4 or 5 games. Senators scored 6-7 goals over the series. That where it's like, oh, we're not that close.
Yeah.
That's the scenario, the nightmare scenario for them, where they're like, oh, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that was where they're like, really, and listen, the
I'm
Sens
not
fans,
saying that's going to happen.
They are so excited, and good for them.
Yes.
They can be excited. They haven't had a chance to be excited in a long time. They're good for them. But if the Leafs just blow them out of the water, would be a pretty big nightmare for them. Where they're just like been talking so much junk, and they've been, they're like, 0-3 in the regular season. It's been 5 straight that they beat the Leafs.
Yeah.
Like they're really, really excited about it. And then the playoff switch happens, and the Leafs just kick the crap out of them. That would be a nightmare.
Because the other piece of that is, Perron's getting older, Giroux's getting older, and Jensen's getting older, and you start going, how are they going to get better next year than they are now?
Yeah.
They would have some work to do.
Oh, I forgot for a hated guy, Stützle, by the way.
Oh,
that came to
Divey?
my mind. He dives. Yeah. He's the worst diver in the league.
Think so?
Oh, no question. I think if you did an NHL player poll about worst diver in the league, he's number 1 by no question. Maybe Kadri.
Yeah.
Maybe Holmberg. He draws every penalty.
Holmberg does.
But Stützle is brutal. He's got that tinted visor. Leaf fans are going to hate him.
I like him a lot.
He kills Leafs, too. He's really good against them.
Which Leafs forward outside the top 6 will score a big goal, Luke?
Steven Lorentz.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
him.
So after that Buffalo game, he was the only one with actual vivid recollections of the Battle of Ontario.
Passionate.
Yeah, talking about, during the commercial breaks, he'd be pretending to be the Leafs, shooting it in the mini stick net that he had right by the TV. He's talking about Patty Lalime and Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yeah.
And like, this guy lives this, right? And now he's like, now I get to be in it.
Yeah.
5-game winners already this season for old Stevie Lorentz.
5?
Yeah, he's got 8
Because he got the
goals,
one in
5
Buffalo.
are GWG.
He got the one in
right,
Buffalo.
right.
Yeah.
It was they
Up
shut
to
him out.
5. I think
That's
he
got
only
to be
has
near the top
8.
of the team.
Yeah.
He's got 8 goals, yeah.
Yeah. He's got 8 goals, 5 of them game winners. So put me down for Lorentz.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sammy?
I'm gonna say, I think the easy one would be Bobby McMahon,
Mhm.
but I'll say
I count him as top 6.
Scott Laughton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think because of how down it's been on him since the start of him getting here, and how much ink has been spilt about how bad it's been for him since he got here. I do think there's a world where it's like sports are weird and it just flips and he's really good.
Yeah.
And he, scores an OT winner, big fight, something happens. I'm bullish on Scott Laughton heading into the playoff things. I think his game's in a good place, and I think he's going to be a real factor in this series. So I think it's going to be him that scores a big one.
Please make it a breakaway slap shot.
Oh, that would be
I
unbelievable.
Love the slap shot.
Did you see the one he scored on last year?
Yes, it was the most ferocious bar down
Clean,
ever.
yeah.
Loud, ringing in your ears. What about you, Borny?
So I'll stick with last year. I was on this, and it didn't happen. Nick Robertson does not need much. He doesn't need many looks. He doesn't need many moments. He just needs one in the right spot, and he shoots it as well. When he was, I've said this on this show before, but when he was on the American League team, I had friends. I had just left the Marlies. They, and these guys would all skate together, and they said, and everyone take a breath here. They said, he shoots it as well as Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
He doesn't get it off as quickly. He doesn't get to the same spots. He's not as powerful, whatever. But you give the two of them a puck and say, hit this spot in the net. Robertson might do it harder and, as accurately. So he doesn't need many of those opportunities. One of them, it's got to happen once. He was skunked last year entirely. So
I love that.
here's to hoping he gets his moment.
I mean, he's gotta.
He's played well the last couple weeks.
Well,
I really liked his game.
He's
last
on the
couple
puck.
weeks.
He's
Yeah,
under
yeah.
sticks, and he's winning pucks back, which is how he's going to stay in the lineup.
Steven Lorentz tied with Kirill Kaprizov, Adrian Kempe, Carter Verhaeghe, Jake Gensel, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Stefan Nason. Bunch of good names that he's tied with for game-winning goals this year.
You
There
know,
you go.
he scored 2 goals for the Florida Panthers in playoffs last year, and I think at least one of them was a game winner. I need to go back and watch, but he's scored playoff goals. It's happened.
He can shoot it in. Like
He
that
can.
goal he scored against Buffalo
Yeah.
was a snipe.
Found a soft spot and
Yeah,
hit it.
Yeah.
Love this question, and our listeners are going to love this question too. If you could have one player from the old Battle of Ontario on today's Leafs, who would you pick? Or who you want this one first? Take it.
Yeah, I think this is a very philosophical question again about what you think the Leafs need,
Yeah.
right? So it's like easy to be like, give me Matt Sundin.
I mean, the obvious answer
Yeah.
is be
Well,
like,
there's
give
your
me the best
3C.
player.
yeah.
Yeah, the Sundin's 3C. You're in a good
like,
spot.
You could talk me into the Ottawa Senators head coach, Travis Green. Like you could talk me into Tucker. You could talk me into any of these guys.
Yeah.
Like that element of just willing to go into the other team's bench type of guy to fight. But I mean, my favorite player my whole life when I was a kid, up until I still have his jersey, I'm going Tucker. Give me Darcy Tucker.
Yeah, I had Sundin.
You did.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to overthink it.
Well, you didn't think.
And
I'll be
also
honest.
positional need. I actually
Yeah.
really think
I was going through this too, and I was like, that's the answer.
I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about their top 6 and who fits.
Matt's might help.
Matt's might fit.
Prime Matt's.
Modern, like today, Matt's might fit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
And there's only one guy that knows how to correctly pronounce Yarncrook.
Yarncrook.
Young Crook.
Yeah.
And Kipper doesn't do it every time.
I know.
It's like, you can just say it, Young Crook.
Yeah.
There it is.
I had Tucker too.
Uh-huh.
It is that element of just what they feel like they lack sometimes. I mean, well recognizing Sundin's the right answer.
Wouldn't mind McCabe blasting.
Well,
on
so
the power play,
McCabe's the other
too.
one I have written down for
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
McCabe
Yeah.
throw some hits.
5-forward power play, though.
Yeah, it's true, but Caberlet to McCabe, float over a saucer pass, just hammer it on
Yeah.
net. I really enjoyed that.
I did say if I could take one player from the Battle of Ontario and drop it into the series, though.
Lalim.
I
was going to say
that was exactly what I
Lalim,
had.
please.
Oh.
I will never, ever forget what I felt. Like I almost
Neuendijk shot it in.
the second one.
I remember
I
watching that live.
almost elevated to the clouds when that second one went in.
Yeah.
That's as excited as and shocked. And I think it was Bob Cole. What is going on? The best.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was positive and fun. We're going to end it on a negative note.
Sorry, I guess I could have done these better.
What happens if the Leafs lose the series? We kind of already hit on this, right? Do we think it goes all the way to the top? Do we think it's no Marner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the chances of Marner walking go way, way up. Yeah.
Way up.
Yeah. And I think the president might be in danger. I mean,
Well, but why
you're
would he
looking
want
at you're
to?
looking at a 1-9 postseason series record for
Yeah.
this core.
I know,
That's-
and some of the stats of like in elimination
Oh,
games,
boy.
and it's just like, oh, it's getting
But-
tough to look at.
Even like why? I mean, I know being the president of the Leafs got to be sick, but like if they lose this year, like why would you want it? Like go to the
Got a lot of money
man,
now.
I was just in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's so
go
cool.
there, man. Like you're rich
Go
beyond
catch
your
a marlin.
You're rich beyond your wildest dreams. Like just go anywhere else.
You get that high burn rate once you're living like that, I think.
But is there any way that just like it's kind of the same?
So yes,
Because
there is a way.
we've had this exact same conversation for 5 straight years, and the coach changed last year, mind you. That's fair. They've changed the general manager. I get that. But like, the players have never changed. I do think there's a world where it's like a run it back situation, even if they lose in the first round.
Everybody stay calm.
You so recently just hired Berube. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're the great first time they've won a division
Yeah.
in
And
whatever,
Treliving did a
20
great
years.
job building up
Yeah.
the team.
Truly,
Yeah.
you look going into the year, they added Chris Tanev and Brandon Carlo to their decor.
And Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
And Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
And Anthony Stollers.
Pretty
Pretty good offseason and trade deadline.
What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
I guess how you can be mad about Lawton.
Sure.
How mad are you?
Yeah, they'll be mad in 3 years when they pick the next Seth Jarvis with that pick. That's when they'll be mad. But
Right.
right now, you can't get too bent out of shape with it. But
But the point is, those two guys, it doesn't feel like they're going anywhere. Like Shanny feels like he is respected, and they've put a good product on the ice for years.
Yeah. Well, Keith Pelly came in here saying that winning is the only thing that matters.
yeah, true.
So how's that going to look if they don't win?
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
But
And it felt
just
like
win.
he wanted to take a year to, give everyone
yeah,
a
kind of
little
have
breathing room,
oversee it a little bit.
oversee it.
Yeah.
And unity, chemistry, great skill.
I don't think it's going to be the craziest thing that if they potentially lose to the Ottawa Senators, which I don't think they're going to, but if they do, I don't think it's the craziest thing that like Marner's just re-signed.
Well, it's
and
like
Tavares
Marner-
is back.
Behind the scenes, whatever, it seems like he would like to be a Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
It seems like that would be his
Party buses are longer from Toronto to Colorado for your 100 point.
I love that player. I love the guy.
It feels like he wants to be there. So, if he has 10 points in a 7-game loss,
I think
how do you not try to re-sign him?
I think it can't be perceived as his fault.
Yes, I would say that's fair.
Like
Like
if
if
it's,
he plays well and the team loses,
and it's
you
not his fault, and he's not the number one whipping boy, which he's been in this era.
yeah.
Him and all the other guys that have been whipping boys. If it's not like on his shoulders,
Mhm.
I still do think there's a world where it comes. But if he's brutal and like everybody's killing him again, he's gone.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is a potential because we said 100 years in a row that it's never going to be.
Yeah.
They'll never bring everybody back, and they have. Right?
But it is tough. It's like,
This is too negative a conversation.
I know,
right?
but you've heard.
power rank their Marner destinations in the offseason.
I heard someone, a bunch of Jets fans being like, Neal Pionk, he's this, he's that, he makes mistakes. But the risk of losing Neal Pionk, you're worse without him. And I think that's the same with Marner.
Yep.
And it's the same with Tavares, who just scored 38 goals. It's like, it's tough to get good players.
Magical amulet.
Want to say thank you so much
Great
for
job.
coming in
I
today,
know.
Luke.
Thanks for having me in here. It was a
fun
blast.
covering the biggest
It was a blast.
game of the year tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be paying the utmost attention. Appreciate your time. We always enjoy your work and look forward to having you back on during the postseason. When we come back, we're going to talk to Renaud Lavoie and Jacob Stoller for the Winnipeg Jets. Get into all things national after this. Welcome back to Real Bourne and McKee today. We are unfortunately without Nick Kyprios today. He is at the celebration of life for Greg Millen. So our thoughts with everyone there. Sounds like a lot of good memories and that being passed around. So the two of us are holding it down today. Number of things to talk about. We're going to get to Renaud Lavoie of TVA and talk about the Montreal.
I gotta be nice to the Habs.
I know you are. You owe them this.
I gotta be nice.
Yeah,
good for them.
Be nice to the Habs. They clinched it last night, and then we'll talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Jacob Stoller is going to join us and chat about all things.
So you watched the game close last night. You were on the panel.
I was on the panel,
and I sat down and probably about midway through the second period after I had dinner and I was watching. So they go up 3-1. I send out the incendiary RJ, as I always do, the reverse jinx. Yeah. Congrats to the Habs and their fans going into the second intermission. Congratulations, playoffs. Good for you.
Yeah.
And then, Carolina scores to make it 3-2. And you could feel in the building.
They were chanting Olay at 9.5.
They love the Olay.
Yeah.
But there's a puck that went towards the net. I don't know who shot it.
Yeah.
Right after they made it 3-2. That was nightmare inducing. It got to Montembeau and he kind of didn't really see it.
In the multiverse where that goes in.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my. Oh. I had a couple of Habs fan friends that I was, great job on making them shut up. I was hammering them with it. But listen, I obviously am not a Habs fan. Everybody listen to this knows that. But the atmosphere there last night.
No better building in the league.
Amazing.
Yep.
Truly, truly amazing. And I hope Ren was there. I'm sure he was there last night. I'd love to talk to him about it. Just that third goal goes in, and it just felt like the roof was going to blow off the place. I give them all the credit. Look at that crowd.
I know. Caden Gooley, it is the number one arena where they celebrate little jukes and fakes.
Yep.
Where every person in the building sees that's why I think Demidov's first game was so appreciated.
Yeah.
A couple of jukes, and everyone's like, oh, they collectively see those moments.
Do they not allow phones there like Augusta? Everybody is
great
locked
point.
Locked in.
I actually think there's a conversation to be had about has Augusta pioneered something that other places are going to take?
Throw your phone in a barrel and watch the game.
Watch the damn event.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, everyone's engaged and the energy's better. And there's a real case to be made for it.
I go back to the Leaf situation where everyone's like, oh, it's so much money to go to a Leaf game. Are they giving away tickets to Lower Bowl in Montreal?
Yeah, I imagine they're not double-digit prices.
I'm sure it was not really cheap to go to a Lower Bowl game where they had the chance to, I guess maybe that's why they're so excited, but it just, that's the one thing I really envy about the Habs is just their crowd is so incredible every night.
So what is it? Because it's also the people who sit in those seats are wearing jerseys.
Yes.
And so what is it? Is it just the location?
I don't know. They're just
the culture where they see themselves as a hockey city instead
more
of
passionate, I guess.
Oh no.
Yeah. They did listen, I've said it a million times, but if it was a first come, first serve night at Scotiabank Arena where you line up and you get in, it would be just like that every single night at Scotiabank Arena. I'm not disparaging.
In this scenario, do you have to pay for your tickets?
Of course.
Okay.
But it's not like $8,000 for a Lower Bowl playoff ticket. It's, I think there's a world where it could be like that in Toronto, but it's just not. And I think I give credit to Edmonton. I watched their playoff crowds. They're really loud. The Leafs playoff crowds are good too, but even their
crowds are good.
It's just, I love watching it just looks so awesome there, and they're jumping. So
give some credit to the management team in Montreal. That Alexandre Carrier pickup, he's been really solid for them. Gooley has really taken a step. They've come a long way. Well, we're going to talk about those guys and more. Joined now by Renaud Lavoie. We really appreciate your time today, pal. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Such a beautiful day in Montreal. It's sunny outside. It's still a little chilly, but we're going to take it, and we're ready for a big spring here in Montreal. That's for sure.
Were you in the building last night? We were just talking about the atmosphere. Tell us about clinching playoffs in Montreal last night.
You know what, guys? It was a special environment Obviously, last game, the game against the Blackhawks with Ivan Demidov coming in the building for the first time. But it started, I'll say, a month ago. There was a Saturday night game. It was the Panthers against the Canadiens, and it was like 2 or 3-1 for the Canadiens in the third. And for 5 minutes in the stands, people started to do the waves and to sing the Ole Ole. And Jacob Dobesh, the backup goalie, was beside me because I was between the bench. It was a Saturday night. And he looked at me and said, "What's going on here?" And I said, "This is Montreal, my friend. Now you're experiencing it, and it's going to be crazy if this team is going in the playoffs." The atmosphere in the Bell Center is just out of this world. I think it's a big advantage for the team because, and it's something that I'm saying a lot today to in different interviews, is if they're capable of winning one game in Washington next week, it's going to be huge because I cannot imagine myself being Logan Thompson or Charlie Lindgren, who experienced it obviously with the Montreal Canadiens, but still with the Canadiens, not against the Canadiens at the Bell Center in the playoffs. I cannot imagine how those two goalies are going to react when this building is going to be on them. It's going to be really, really tough for the Capitals.
So, I mean, this may be dumbing it down too much of a question, but like, what is it about Montreal that crowd? Like, what is, because it has a different feel than every other building you watch on TV. I've never actually been there for a game. I actually did go for a game against the Dallas Stars, so it didn't have the same cachet. But
No.
what is it?
Passion. It's all about passion about the game. Passion, with this team. There's a lot of young players. It starts with the captain, who's now one of the best, 200-foot centermen in the league right now, and Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson. And there's some good veterans with Brendan Gallagher, who's still there, still battling hard night after night. And you have Sam Montembeault as a goalie, who, when he arrived with the Montreal Canadiens, he didn't really look like an NHL goalie. And look at him today. There's a lot of good stories. And I'm just mentioning a few names here and there, but it's just amazing. And now you have Ivan Demidov coming to this team, and he's going to be an impact player. I don't know if it's going to be in these playoffs, but whenever it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So it feels like the fans, they just embrace the plan that was put in place by Jeff Gorton, Kent Hughes, Martin St. Louis, and it's working. And it feels like people are so happy to see finally a playoff team. You're going to go back to probably 2021 saying the Canadiens went to the Stanley Cup final, but that was without fan in the stands. It was a totally different vibe. Now it feels like it's for real compared to maybe 4 years ago.
So is what they have going on right now sustainable? Like, do they have the legitimate pieces that next year they'll be building, and this is something that will last?
That's a great question. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that right now they're focusing on today and tomorrow and what's at stake against the Capitals. But still, there is obviously some players that are going to leave. David Savard is going to retire at the end of this season, the playoffs, when this team. But that's not a surprise for anyone. What's going to happen with Christian Dvorak? He's playing his best hockey with the Montreal Canadiens. There's a few players like that are really playing well and helping this team. Joel Armia is another name that I can put out there. So you have to wonder what's going to happen to these experienced players, because you can replace them with young players, but it's not going to be the same. Right. They don't have the experience, right? At least the younger players of this organization right now are working really, really hard. They're going to experience playoffs for, I'm going to say, the first time, but last night was really a game 7 for them. So they did experience it in a way. And they were on the good side of the history. So it's all going to be about the younger players coming in, and Kent Hughes, obviously, his role is going to be to find, if it's not Christian Dvorak signing again with the Canadiens or Joel Armia, to find players that are going to be able to replace these two players that I just mentioned, but at the same time, I'm going to repeat myself, but you have some young players coming in the system, and they're coming really, really fast too. So you have to let them be at one point.
So there's obviously a million different reasons that the Montreal Canadiens have surprised everybody and made the playoffs here. But, Ren, if you're going to boil it down, what do you think the number one reason is that this team is playing against the Caps starting on Monday? They start Monday?
It starts Monday.
Yeah.
They start Monday. Like you mentioned, there's a million reasons. I've been asked this question. The biggest difference this year to last year is Lane Hutson, right? Lane Hutson wasn't there. And Lane Hutson is a difference maker. Okay. I never could imagine this kid to be that good. And it's not about only the points, but the way he adjusts to all the small mistakes that he's going to make through the season. He's not going to repeat these mistakes twice. He's quite something to watch, and he's a really smart player. That's probably number one. Number two, Alex Carrier. You mentioned it a little earlier, and you were right. I mean, Alex Carrier arrived on December 22nd, and it stabilized that blue line that really, really needed help. But just one player, guys, not two or three players, just one player was able to make the difference at the blue line because the core was really good. And you have to look after that to Nick Suzuki, who before the start of the second part of the season on February 22nd, the Canadiens at that time had only 2% chances of making the playoffs. 2%. He went in Kent Hughes' office and said to him, "We don't want you to make any trade. We want to stay with the same team." And and obviously, Kent was I'm not going to say shocked by that statement, but said, "Let me do my job, okay? But do your job." And doing your job is making sure that you're going to be a leader on this team. You're going to be the one making the difference night after night, a difference player, difference maker, and make sure that we're going to win games and we're going to be in the mix. And it's exactly what happened. So kudos to Nick Suzuki, who made a big statement just by talking to his GM. They say, "Hey, we don't want anyone to be traded here," and it was a gamble, but it was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been absolutely phenomenal, and really that line. It's funny you mentioned like Carrier puts everyone in their right spot. Hudson makes a difference. So all of a sudden you're playing in your D zone less. So the forwards suddenly have the puck more, and everyone gets better. It's like a guy or two makes such a fundamentally huge difference in the roster.
And Sam Montembeault, because his life is going to be quote unquote a little bit easier if the team is spending less time in the D zone compared to what it was probably before Carrier arrived with the Canadiens.
So just the Montembeault thing, this random thought popped into my head. You're around the team a lot. Did you talk to him about his Four Nations thing? Because he was the third goalie, right? Like, did you talk to him about that? How that was for him? Because he didn't get into a game. What was his thoughts on that?
He really enjoyed it. First of all, he looked a lot at at what the other goalies were doing, but especially what the other players on the ice were doing. Right? To watch what Connor McDavid was doing, Sidney Crosby, what are the details in their game, and I think that he in a way he went there and was I think a different goalie. And I remember watching this week, it was I don't know what it was exactly, but an interview with Wayne Gretzky, and they were talking about the '87 Canada Cup and the impact that cup had on a guy like Mario Lemieux, who after that, a few years after, was able to win the Stanley Cup twice with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I feel like, when I talked to Sam about Jordan Binnington, one thing that he mentioned about it is that Jordan, a few times I was the one I was supposed to replace him during practices. There was no way he was giving me his
really. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
No, he worked his butt off, and he was, a difference maker when you look at it in the last game of that tournament. And honestly, I think that Sam really, really learned from that experience. He started already working on the way he prepare for games and what he needs to do during games to calm himself. That started last year, and now it's paying off. So I feel like it's if you're asking me right now, who's got the edge in that? For me, it's kind of easy. It's the Montreal Canadiens right now.
That's fantastic. And I do want to ask you about the series, but before I do, I want to ask you about the NHL's fifth longest tenured coach in Martin St. Louis.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It is true.
Oh my!
It's only
Yeah,
Cooper,
is.
Sullivan, Bednar, and Brindamore
Wow.
longer. I know, which is baffling.
Yeah.
It feels like he just got there. He got there in February of 2002.
2002. That's a really long time. 2022.
All right. Yes, 2022. So a little over 3 years ago. Have you seen a change in him as a coach in that short amount of time he's been there?
Okay, October 31st.
Yeah.
2024. So Canadiens are playing the Capitals. Tight game, but in the third, excuse my language here, but after the game, I don't know if you remember, but Martin St. Louis said we puke on ourselves in the third period.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a pretty
Okay.
bad word. I don't know. You better be careful with that one.
Yeah, well, that's what he said, and he was pissed,
Yeah.
and you don't want Marty to be pissed. No. Okay, I'm telling you, you don't want to see that. Next day, November 1st, we're still in Washington, and it was one of the toughest practices I've seen in a long time. It was, you want to punish his players in a way, and that's ground zero. That's right there, ground zero of what we're talking about right now, this team making the playoffs. And the funny part is it was in Washington, inside the Capitals building.
Right.
It was not in a different ring. It was in the Capitals building. So for the players to go back there, it's going to be unique because everyone was there, at the exception of Carrier and Demidov. Otherwise, they were all there. They went through it. And they're probably going to talk about it. Guys, on November 1st here, we went through hell. And look at where we were at right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. Amazing story. That's Martin St. Louis.
It is absolutely. It's to see where they've come from that first half of the year to the second part of the season is incredible. So now you look at this playoff series and the Capitals are almost the reverse. They haven't been very good. They've been okay. So is there a path through for the Montreal Canadiens against the 1 seed?
I think so. I mean, that question was asked to me a month ago. I was at the GM meeting in Boca, West Palm Beach, and already we knew that if the Canadiens were making the playoffs, would have been probably against the Capitals. And I said, the last thing that the Canadiens wants is to face the Capitals. They were so good.
Yeah.
And I've seen them a couple of times, ice level, and I was like, this group is unique. Okay. And I said to myself, there's no way you want to face the Capitals. No way. But since then, I don't recognize that team. It feels like they're totally different. They were involved, obviously, with that Wayne Gretzky record chase, which is okay. I totally understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, look at the way they're playing. I don't feel it's the same thing. Maybe it's just a hiccup. If it's just a hiccup, well, all right, it's good for them. But it's easy for me to say right now that I expect the Canadiens to beat the Capitals because of the way the Capitals are playing and because of goaltending. Easier said than done, okay? But that's my feeling right now.
Do you think the Caps, the goal chase, like that was such a unifying thing, and then that happens? Does that let a little air to the balloon after? Like, I don't know. It just feels like they've been doing a lot of partying about it and being excited about it, like what the actual goal is. I was surprised that, how much it took out of them after they were done with that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And even, the games that they were playing when Ovi was chasing that record, they were not. Yeah, they were losing games.
Yeah.
They were celebrating after games. I understand why you were celebrating after games. It's a record that no one thought it was possible that it would be beat one day, and I totally understand it. But at the same time, you're celebrating a unique performance in a 4-1 loss. Okay, so it's all right. I understand it, and probably I would have done as a player the same thing. It's a unique situation, but it sends a strange vibe. But they have time. They're gonna lick their chops. They're gonna find ways to return to what they were maybe a month ago. And if it happens, this is going to be a tough team to beat, not only for the Canadiens, but after that, for whoever is going to face them. But they have all the tools, guys.
Yeah.
They have all the tools. But the way since that chase is like the way they were chasing that record, it feels really, really weird.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Last one before we're going to let you go, because I'll go to jail if I don't ask about this. Ivan Demidov.
Wow.
First impressions, Ren?
Crazy. Unbelievable person, first of all.
Yeah.
Great kid.
Does he speak English?
He speaks English.
Okay.
He's learning French. I like the fact that, we've seen all the highlights, first assist, first goal on his first shot, the crowd reaction, him watching the scoreboard and smiling and having a blast. That was unique. That was so refreshing. He's not scared. We're going to give him time, but he's going to be a franchise player on this team, I'm convinced.
First ever
beautiful.
series against Ovechkin in your first ever playoff series.
Yeah.
3 games into your career.
Why not?
Here we go.
Very cool. Well,
Why
hey,
not?
Ren, enjoy covering that series. We sure appreciate you joining us, and I hope we get to chat with you during playoffs.
Yeah, we're going to have a blast, and thanks for having me, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
appreciate it. That's Renaud Lavoie, hockey reporter for TVA Sports, NHL Network correspondent. And I did want to mention that this hour of Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. He's the best, Ren.
Love that man.
Great stuff.
By far my favorite thing about the Montreal Canadiens.
The jersey. The jersey's very nice.
I do want to highlight the season Nick Suzuki has had.
Yeah.
And I clearly love him. He was an own sound attack legend. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. And it's been a lot of very complicated feelings, including him scoring an overtime winner against the Leafs in their playoff series. Like it's a very tough thing for pretty much me and people from Own Sound at all. That's it. That's who it's really tough for. But he has scored so many
that goal he scored
goals.
last night
was
my huge. The timing of that game, it was 1-1.
Yes.
It was feeling a little perilous.
And he just snaps it in, big celly, crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Scored like that tying goal against the Panthers.
Yeah.
And then did he score the overtime winner after?
But the passing comment I made about his rank as a center in the league, I'm wearing but listen, I'm wearing it, and I deserve to. He's been
fantastic,
absolute full value for the Canadiens.
So good for him.
What do you think Slavkovsky's ceiling? What is he?
He's fancy Pierre Engvall.
No, what do you think he's fully developed? Like when he's a 27-year-old in this league?
I think he's big and skilled.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's
35 goals.
I don't know
40 goals.
How many does he have this year? I don't know. I'm just looking him up now. I got to tell you, I know he's still young, but every viewing of him, he finished this season with 18 goals in 79 games, 51 points. I'm never blown away like I think I should be with the physical skills that he has.
The thing is, bud, he's 240.
I know.
238.
Huge. He's huge.
And he's 21 years old. He's going to play at like 245. If he could have a Matthew Nyes-like sort of career maybe where he scores 30-plus goals, he's physical. I'm curious to see if he develops an edge. Like if you're that big and you're a little mean, just a little mean, a tiny bit mean, goes a long way.
I wouldn't trade him for Matthew Nyes.
There you go.
But I think he's a good player. I think he has a lot of room to grow. But like I said, when you have that skill set at that size, and I know he's young, 21, sure. It's a young man's game. There's a lot of young guys in the league that are very good.
Yeah.
He always leaves me wanting more. And this is one of those things that Hab fans are allowed to say, but when a Leaf fan says it, they get bent out of shape. But like I got Hab fans, buddies, who are, they're whining about him a lot.
Yeah.
Like they want more too. So
by the way, Caulfield though is gotta be if you're, let's say you're a Leafs fan and you're playing Montreal.
Yeah.
He is
number one.
maybe the scariest guy to have the puck on his
Number
stick
one.
on the other side.
And-
Lane Hudson's number one.
Well,
I do not want that guy if you're playing
his
against him to
decision
have the
making
puck.
now
Yeah.
that's what, like, because he's so shifty and the way he skates. I will say it's not aesthetically pleasing.
No, you're right.
It's not like watching him play. He's very low. It's very like, it's not Quinn. To me, it's not Quinn Hughes. It's not Cale Makar. It doesn't look as good as those. It doesn't look as smooth necessarily. It's very choppy and like flying around, but it's dynamic.
It's like listening to a podcast at 1.4 speed or something. Like everything he does is just a little.
Do people listen to us at 1.5 speed, do you think?
Good chance. I can't imagine listening to this at normal pace.
But then if you listen to a podcast at like fast speed and you try to go back, it sounds like everybody's drunk.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine listening to Kip at 1.5 and then going back? You'd be like,
Tough.
spit it out,
Tough.
man, right? It's weird. It's weird. Anyways.
All right. You want to do game time?
Yeah, I'll rip some game time here. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Let me stop you.
Yes.
I bet on Ottawa.
Tonight. Oh, good for you.
For
I will be
for the
too.
series.
I will be too.
Yeah.
I am going to have a treasury meeting about where we're comfortable. I'm with
With
the
your
with the
wife?
with the no, with the McKee camp myself.
Okay.
We're gonna sit down. We're gonna crunch some numbers.
How much can we go here?
And the highest number we can go to is what I'm gonna bet on the Ottawa Senators at plus 150.
That, folks, is the happiness
It's the
hedge.
best. It's a great number for the
Because
happiness
the question
hedge.
is, Sam,
Yes.
would you pay $100
Yes.
to have the Toronto Maple Leafs win that round? And if the answer is yes,
so yeah,
then you'll risk it. Because if you lose, then at least you get some payout. Emotional damage. Emotional.
so there's a bunch
Unhealthy.
of meaningless hockey games tonight, right? And I'm just fascinated by these lines.
Bet every underdog because no one's knows who's
Why? Like, like, for example, Washington and Pittsburgh are playing tonight. And our beloved Bet365 is like, minus 110.
Yeah, everyone's
you guys, we have no
coin
idea.
toss.
But I do look at the Leafs tonight, who are minus 165.
Yeah, they're dressing their team, pal. Their
Yeah, but
playoff team.
They do not want to play hockey. The Red Wings are not wanting to play hockey as well, but they at least, can try in this game.
Yeah.
They're plus 140. You could make worse bets than the Red Wings tonight at plus 140.
Oh, but hockey coaches are the worst because Berube's going to go in there and he's going to say, excuse me.
Yeah.
We want to go in on a winning note. We got to be where practice is for us. We got to be, sharp, playing our game. And you're in the room going, okay.
Yeah. Straight lines, north, south.
Yeah.
And so now that we've got the playoff matchup set up and we're heading into the playoffs starting this weekend,
Started good tonight.
who
Good luck.
do you think is the favorite to win the cup? Because I would say this is semi-surprising.
Vegas.
No.
Mm.
In the least division.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Florida?
Florida is the
Florida?
favorite at plus 650.
Meow.
God. Oh, I wish that didn't exist.
I'm glad it does.
I know you are. And so is Derek, because he always hammers me with it. Plus 650. Colorado's next, 7-1. Dallas, 8-1. So the second and third favorite to win the Stanley Cup are playing each other in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas next at plus 850. Jets, 950. Edmonton, plus 950. Decent number there for them. And then it's Washington, Toronto, Carolina, all 10-1. Tampa at 11-1 is an excellent number. Kings,
That's the one, Tampa.
Kings, Sens, Kings 18-1, Sens 30, and then it goes all the way down. Habs are 50 to plus 5,000. So
I think I might be picking Tampa for the Cup. And at 11-1, that's an appealing number. Can I give you?
I don't hate it, but I don't think. Listen, they will really want Ottawa to get through the second round. Because if there's one team that actually kind of owns them, it's the Leafs, which is crazy to say.
Can I give you the Dallas Stars last 7 games? Lost to Pittsburgh, lost to Minnesota, lost to Vancouver, lost to Winnipeg, lost to Utah, lost to Detroit, lost to Nashville.
They lost 7 in a row?
7 straight.
Yikes.
Giving up 5, 6, 5, 4, 6, 3, 5. Their goalies, they can't get a save. We had Valley come on talking about how Ottinger should get replaced by DeSmith, who also can't make a save.
The joke I love the
And they
most,
just lost Jason Robertson.
I've never seen Jake Ottinger have a good game. Like, I've never seen it. Everyone's like, oh, he's amazing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, you check his numbers.
never
it's
seen
like,
a good one. Never seen a good one.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's anecdotal.
Okay.
I'm not being honest. But anyways,
I don't believe you.
that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right. When we get back, we're going to be joined by Jacob Stoller from Winnipeg, our guy at Sportsnet. We're going to have some legitimate Jets talk when we get back. Yes, Pionk time after the break. Welcome back to Real Bourne and McKee. Not really the name of the show, but it's what we're calling it when Kip's away. We are now joined by Jacob Stoller, Winnipeg Jets writer here at Sportsnet. Really happy to have you on. We've been looking forward to this. The Winnipeg Jets, President's Trophy champions. Did you think it would ever happen?
No, I actually went on 32 Thoughts and said that they might not make the playoffs. So, yeah, it's not a good look. My predictions have aged pretty terribly. I thought Ehlers could be traded. I thought they'd be on the outside looking in the playoff picture. I think I also said something about maybe them not being top 5 in goals against. So, yeah would not rely on me for hot takes in the future.
Listen, in defense, the Winnipeg Jets actually put out a tweet of all the analysts. There's like 43 analysts who would win the Central, and 0 people picked them. But in my defense and everyone else, I don't think the Jets thought they were going to be this good.
I don't know. I actually kind of disagree. I do think they thought they'd be.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, maybe not the Okay, you're probably
What
right,
did they
Justin.
start the year, 100-0? Like, they won every game for the first 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me backtrack. I don't think they thought they'd be that good, but I do think there was a lot of confidence in that room heading into the year. And to me, I felt it right off the hop in being in the room. And to be honest, I didn't buy it, like going to training camp. I did not think that it would translate, but it just seemed like game after game, they were so deliberate in everything that they did. They would take one game at a time. I got to say, being in that room when they were 15-1, like through that span, you would have never known it. Not saying they weren't happy, but it just, each game was very much focused on that game. And it's what's driven their success, to be honest. And just throughout the season, it's so interesting. If you look at last year, they had some spurts where they'd win 8 in a row, right? They also, though, had, I believe, a 7 in a row losing streak, if I'm not mistaken, at least over 5 games. They haven't had those lulls this year. And it's not, they've had bouts where they're not winning at 800% winning percentage, but the consistency for them and adopting the style of play that they want to play, that's been the key to their success, honestly, and their world-class goaltender as well.
Before you ask your question, Sam, question for you, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the best backdrop of any guest we've ever had on?
I was going to bring it up, we were like-minded. That Sharks, if you're going to put it on the full screen again. That Sharks is my favorite, one of my favorites of all time. I had a starter jacket with like that, of that era when I was a kid. That is such a great jersey. The other ones are good too, but that's a standout.
Some of these are from China, I think, for $5.
Oh, yeah. I got it.
Ruin the allure.
No, but I got into that big too. Like I have a bunch of like those crappy May jerseys that are like, there's a couple in here that I brought. I have like
we need a Habs one.
I have a Lemieux like that. I have I think I have a Brodeur over there too.
We can get one of those Jets ones.
Yeah, we could get it. Maybe Shovel Day Off will send it to us. And maybe I can lose it on a bus.
We'll have a whole segment. Anyway, sorry to derail the conversation. Yeah. Carry on.
I saw a non-playoff question here first. I saw Neal Pionk sign that long contract today. Hey, I feel, we talk about the underrated guys in the league when Barkov had the underrated award forever, even though everybody talked about him as, but there's actually underrated guys. And seeing that contract, I didn't realize the value of Neal Pionk to the Winnipeg Jets, I guess, once I saw that. I know he was good, but that was a pretty big financial commitment from the Jets to him.
Yeah, but the thing is, Sam, if you look at the deal in the context of the cap rising, it's pretty much the same deal he has now, which I think is just below $6 million. So, and if you look at right-hand defensemen in the league, that's what they go for, that produce at his level. Here's the thing. Pionk is the whipping boy in a lot of sectors of Winnipeg fandom. I think that to the naked eye, you look at Neal Pionk and there's some points where he hasn't been at his best. But the reason he was the Masterson Trophy nominee from our PWHA chapter was because people forget that last year, his best friend was Adam Johnson, who passed away that tragic accident. So that really was hard to deal with. Yeah, and he played the playoffs with a broken foot. So, of course, the guy wasn't at his best. The thing about Pionk and what makes people start to kind of hate on him is he's somewhat chaotic sometimes. And I mean that in the best of ways, actually. He's aggressive. Like, he'll go to kill a play. He's able to jump into the rush. And sometimes mistakes are going to happen, obviously. But I think the way that he plays, it's very in line with the system that the Jets have been running. Not only is he excellent at killing plays, like if you back up a couple years, during the COVID season, he was unbelievable. And I'm serious when I say that, against Connor McDavid in that series. The way that he checks... Yeah, one-on-one defending, that's Neal Pionk's bread and butter. Okay, and with Dylan Samberg, that second pairing, they've been excellent. Where I think fans sometimes get lost in it is they'll say, oh, that's too much money and we could get someone else, trade or free agency. Please, I beg you, find me someone that the Jets can, A, go out and acquire, and B, that is better than Neal Pionk for a second pairing right-hand defenseman. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the market. I think Neal's done a great job in his role. His offensive production slowed down a little bit throughout this year, but all in all, like, he's been one of their drivers. Like, I think that contract, to me, I don't think it's that egregious, to be frank. Like, the cap, again, it's rising.
So is there some blowback from the fans on what that number is?
Not, it's a mixed bag, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that the reality is, you knew that as soon as Neal Pionk was going to re-sign with the Jets, that there would be the same people that are, want his head on a pitchfork sometimes. Or not even just that, though. It's maybe not that harsh, but maybe just think he's going to regress instantly, right? That's going to age terribly. But when you're in win now mode, you have to keep those guys. And he's 29 years old. He is extremely durable for a guy that, blocks shots, is very physical, even though he's 6 feet. Like, I talked to Adam Lowry at practice today, and he was saying, like, yeah, he may be 6 feet or whatever, and the Jets joke a lot that he's actually listed as smaller. But the guy plays like he's 6'4", right? So you have the prototype guy that can shut down top players and also contribute offensively. Those are hard to find.
Absolutely. So as the Jets turn the page from their President's Trophy season, looking forward to the playoffs, they got the St. Louis Blues. I guess two thoughts on that. One is, how do you feel about that matchup for them? But the other one is, are they healthy? Because I know Nick Ehlers is one that is not healthy, and that's a pretty significant loss for the Jets.
Well, they're certainly not healthy.
Right.
They've got, Gabriel Velarde skating on his own. He skated again today. We don't know really what his timeline would be. We haven't seen him skate with the main group yet, so for sure doubtful for game one, if not completely ruled out. Nikolai Ehlers is week to week as of a couple days ago.
With a ref,
I don't know. Maybe this is
with a ref.
Yeah. Oh,
God.
Terrible luck.
Terrible.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like week to week is more so like closer to a month, just the way that it's been happening. That said, playoffs obviously ramp up, pain tolerance and whatnot. But the Jets are definitely shorthanded when it comes to their offense right now. They're fortunate, though, that they've had a lot of guys step up. Since late January, Cole Perfetti has taken a tremendous step for the team, solidifying himself as a top 6 forward. Alex Iafallo, who also re-signed recently, has done a great job filling in for Gabe Velarde. You still miss Velarde, especially on the power play. You still miss Nikolai Ehlers, but they've been able to fill in from within. And I think the real driver of the Jets' success is, even when they've lost guys, they've been without Dylan Samberg for points, Neal Pionk, Ehlers now as well, Velarde. It doesn't really matter. And 2 years ago, when they played Vegas in the playoffs, when they lost, Ehlers, I believe Morrissey, Scheifele missed time, you just thought, they're done. They're cooked. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Obviously, if, Connor Hellebuyck were to ever get injured, that feeling would come around. But with this team, it's really it's a really well-run system team. And I wrote this for Sportsnet.ca the other day. The beauty of this team and the real reason for belief in them is they've built this brand of hockey where it's Winnipeg Jets style of hockey. When you play against the Los Angeles Kings or the Carolina Hurricanes, right, and you hear players on opposing teams say, we're asked about that matchup, they'll always say, like, they're a really hard team to play against. They don't give you much room. Mm-hmm. That's what the Jets have become. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to bring guys in, even depth guys that have come into the system and given them, impactful performances, even if they move up the lineup. So that said, I think not having Velarde and Ehlers is going to hurt the power play the most, especially against the Blues. And it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think it was like 20 seconds away from it being the Wild, right?
Yeah.
With that goal. So I'm sure the Jets weren't thrilled St. Louis over them, but that said, I actually take that back. I don't think they care who they play. Yeah. I think they're pretty confident in what they do. And I really mean that. And it's not just coming off as, like we have a lot of belief in this room. No, they're like, we don't care. We're going to play the way that we play. And I think Hellebuck's convinced that team that they can win too. Like him backstopping them as well.
Yeah. We're talking with Jacob Stoller, a Winnipeg Jets writer for Sportsnet. Sammy?
Yeah. The Connor Hellebuck, Jordan Binnington thing will be something that outside of Winnipeg people will point to. And some of the playoffs, like the Leafs are clearly the crown jewel of playoff failures, and they get the brunt of everyone makes fun of them the most. But the Jets are not immune to some of this stuff when it comes to the playoffs. They had some heartbreaks. They went deeper in earlier years, but there's been some first round stuff. Get matched up with the Colorado Avalanche. I understand that. But there's a lot of it's different talk here. Like all my Leaf fan buddies are saying it's different in Toronto. It's different this year. Like it really does feel different in Winnipeg this year too. Is it different? Why is it different? Like that's the question I'm asking with the Jets, because I think it's really easy to point to a lot of their playoff failures before. It's a lot of the same guys, a lot of Connor Hellebuck stuff. What is different?
I think that what they've set out to do 3 years ago when they moved on from the Paul Maurice era to Rick Bowness, they set out to be a good defense first team, right? They've now perfected that. And why it's different is they have actually found a way to embrace and execute this style of play where they edge you out 2-1 in games. And I think that in terms of, does it feel different, Sam? What you're referencing there with your Leafs buddies that are saying about the Leafs this year, granted, I lived in Toronto for a while. I heard that a lot of years.
Yeah, so, I hear it every year. My whole life, in fact.
Right, yeah. I do think it's very different, actually, because this is a fan base that there's been some pessimism the last couple of years. It was hard to fill the building in some spurts. That changed throughout the year this year as the season went on. A lot of sellouts down the stretch, a very big increase from the last couple of years overall, too. I can say from talking to people, everyone is very, very excited. And the previous 2 years, I almost felt like people were just excited that there was whiteout hockey in Winnipeg. We're still kind of reeling from COVID. We're, just happy that they're there kind of thing. But now it's like, and this team as a whole has exuded it. It's kind of cup or bust vibes. And that's a weird term because that usually is used in the context of if we don't win the cup, we're going scorched earth here.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen, but it's more so like that's the goal, period. And the Jets for a while have been very, wishy-washy sort of the rhetoric publicly. You'll never hear them outright say it. But recently, there's been a change. Like they have their own team-produced documentary called Runway. And the title of the last episode is We Want the Stanley Cup. And
like that.
Like DeMello.
Heaven forbid you admit you want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 100%. But they're not really shying away or towing the company line or whatever, which has kind of been a thing in previous years. It's pretty simple. Like throughout all the regular season accolades this year, they'll be like, what does it mean to win the President's Trophy or the best regular season or to win the Central? Ask anyone, the DeMellos, Pionk, like any of these guys, they'll say, we want the cup. They'll say it pretty directly. And it's a different feeling this year, 100%. And I think that a lot of people think that they can do it.
And do we feel like the deadline additions of Schenn and Tanev are going to help in that regard?
Masterpiece job by Chevy. Like,
yeah,
we all know that the target was Brock Nelson. Yeah. Okay. He swung, he tried his best. Kevin Cheveldayoff deserves a lot more credit than he gets because with his hands tied, working in the smallest market where no trade clauses botch a lot of things he tries to do, he's been able to re-sign core players. He's been able to make acquisitions, but sometimes you're going to miss, right? The plan B there, or even I think if they got Nelson, those two guys would have come in, have actually taken their style of play and amplified it. Like Luke Schenn, one of the problems, in Colorado, that series last year, was in front of the net, there was way too much traffic in front of Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
So in turn, they get a guy like Luke Schenn that is an absolute bruiser. And I think Arneal put it best. Guys take the long way around the net when he's there. He is just annoying to play against. And he's very, the way he's been able to resurrect his career over the last couple of years, and Adam Oates was a big part of that, though, even though his foot speed isn't at his best, he's very good in a structured environment. And that's what the Jets are. So he's been great for them. When Pionk was out, he actually filled in alongside Dylan Sandberg and was really good, honestly. So that's been a great ad. And then Brandon Tanev looks like just an absolute dog on a bone. That expression is thrown around, but this guy, it's like when you get home and your dog's just going crazy and no matter what you do, it won't settle down. That's Tanev.
That's how he plays. Yeah.
Shift. It's The guy will block 4 shots in a shift and go like position himself to block a 5th. I don't understand. He's a madman. And I think he's a very useful player. Both those guys too, I should note, are huge penalty killers. And since they were acquired, Jets penalty kill has been getting a lot better. It actually dates back to around January. So perfect ads, honestly, for what they needed to get. I think that Cheveldayoff looks pretty wise. No matter what happens in the playoffs, the fact that he didn't go trade a first for a middle 6 offensive forward that, I don't know, like if he's not in your top 6, like a soft skill kind of player, that's not going to really do anything for them, especially the way they try to win games. So I think it was a great job, and those two have made their impact felt instantly.
Awesome. Well, hey, man, listen, enjoy the playoffs. We look forward to following along and hope to talk with you again soon.
See you, bud.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Thanks.
All right, thanks. That's Jacob Stoller, Winnipeg Jets writer here at Sportsnet. A lot of good insights there.
Awesome. I have 2 Connor-related news and notes.
Okay.
Quickly, because we only have a couple minutes here. I saw this story on sportsnet.ca, and it just kind of jumped out to me. I was like looking for news and notes things.
By the way, Jets talk.
Jets talk. Great Jets talk.
Yeah.
Connor Bedard wants to stay in with the Blackhawks for a long time is the title of the story.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
For sure. By the way, I forgot to mention
Yeah.
this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365.
Bad producing by me. I should have told you.
Carry on, pal.
So you don't really think of a guy in his second year playing on a bad team. This is never
Like, I want to be here.
This is never like, yeah. Like, that's kind of what you do. This isn't the NBA.
Right.
Guys don't ask out right away. Like, you're kind of there for a while. You do you do it.
Was it never forget you're here forever.
But this is the quote that jumped out to me in the article. If I look a little sad on the bench or something, maybe people can take it out of context. But I've said it so many times. I love being here. Yeah. Like, seems like, why do you have to tell everybody that? Like, I guess they suck so bad, but is everyone being like, Bedard wants out? Are people saying that?
My shirt's raising a lot of questions. that whole thing.
Anyways.
You know, I get that he has to get ahead of sort of rumors or whatever, and that's totally fine. The team finished last couple years in a row. I think it's hard. The weight of the franchise is on your shoulders. You know, you're supposed to be the guy.
Sure.
It's really a tough thing, I think, for these NHL franchises who haven't had a good player in a long time, and they get one, and to not give them too much. And I feel like that, you know, I've seen the Sabres do it with Cousins, and you've seen, you know, Bedard. It's like,
it's always the Sabres.
It's tough to make guys earn it. I don't know.
I'm so excited.
I hope they're better next year.
I'm so excited that it's the playoffs now, and I don't have to watch terrible teams. Like, I watched that Habs Blackhawks game the other night, Demidov's debut. I was like, this is wretched.
I know, and Bedard being like, if I look a little sad on the bench, first off, don't look sad on the bench.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to.
It's a hockey game. Are you sad?
Yeah, he's like passing to the next AHLer that's playing on his line. And then the other Connor-related note I have, Connor McDavid moves into the tie for the 5th most 100-point seasons in the win over the Sharks. McDavid hit the 100 points plateau for the 5th straight season and for the 8th time in his career, Borny, becoming the 4th player in NHL history to do so. The other 4, Wayne Gretzky, 15 times, Mario Lemieux, 10, and Marcel Dion, 8.
Wow.
So he's the 4th guy in the history, and those are the other 3 guys that have done it. We're witnessing.
Just having like a terrible season for him. I air quoted that if you can't see it.
But like you know, you're witnessing one of the all-time greats. And as much as you don't want necessarily, from a Toronto perspective, like I don't want the Oilers to be the first team to get the cup before, you know, the down Young Street's the only way I want it coming back, blah, blah, blah. You want him to get his.
Yes.
Because if there's so much more competition, so you're not going to get 2 or 3 or 4 like a lot of these other guys. But he has to have the one to validate.
He does have to have the one.
He has to have the one, and it doesn't feel like
it's going to be like Rory McIlroy when he wins.
Oh my God, he's down to the knees. He's crying.
Like he is.
Yeah. So
that sort of level of competitive. So last night, Sammy, the Stanley Cup playoffs were finalized. Final matchups came into view.
Yeah.
Got one there you're most excited about outside of the Leafs?
I got to say Colorado, Dallas.
Yeah.
The laundry isn't necessarily the sexiest, but those 2 teams are both really good.
Tampa Bay, Florida.
Love that too. But I think it's the Leafs and Sens is the marquee matchup from the first round. I'm not just saying that because we're in Toronto.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Big thanks today to Jacob Stoller, to Renaud Lavoie, and to Luke Fox, all of whom helped us get through 2 hours. Sans Kyper. Enjoy the games tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.